Let's talk about ratings and reviews. And more specifically, let's talk about why I personally don't use star ratings. Now, before I begin, this video isn't meant to disparage anyone who uses star ratings. I'm just going to explain why I don't use them on this channel, and hopefully you respect my rationale. And if you're new here, I'm Todd, and I review and discuss science fiction, fantasy, and horror novels with one goal in mind: helping you decide if a book is right for you. So let's dive in. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Why don't I just slap a star rating on a book and call it a day? I mean, it's quick, right? But for me, star ratings, they feel reductive. They take something as complex and personal as a book and they boil it down to a single number. And honestly, I think that does a disservice to you, the viewer, as well as the author who spent countless nights toiling over their story. Books are more than their surface appeal, and they're dynamic in the way they resonate, or don't, at different points in our lives. Take Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, for example. The first time I read it in high school, I hated it. I couldn't connect with it at all, and honestly, I think part of it came from the fact that it was assigned reading. Later, in undergrads, I was forced to read it again. My feelings didn't change much. I was not a fan. But over the years, something shifted. I picked it up again, this time on my own terms, and I was floored. Suddenly, I began to see the layers in Conrad's work, and I started exploring criticism and analyses of the novella. I even dove into the grim history of the Congo during King Leopold's brutal reign. What I once saw as an uninspired slog transformed into a deeply complex meditation on imperialism, morality, and human nature. If I had rated it back in high school, it would have been two-star book, tops. Today, it's a masterpiece in my eyes. That's not something a star rating could ever capture, it's a journey, not a snapshot. And that's the thing, my opinions evolve, my tastes have shifted as I matured, both as a person and as a reader. For instance, I get immense enjoyment from the sheer absurdity and wild creativity of Dungeon Crawler Carl. It's fast paced, hilarious, and unabashedly over the top. But I also adore the subtle nuances of The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin, with its profound exploration of gender, culture, and humanity. These books, they couldn't be more different. They're worlds apart in tone, purpose, and audience, yet I value them both. How could I use the same rating system to assess them? It would feel like comparing a roller coaster to a symphony. Not better or worse, just different experiences. When I think about star ratings, I picture my former students who would receive a letter grade or a numerical grade and not spend any time reading my notes on why they received their grade. Good or bad, I'd see it time and time again. They go straight to the letter A, B, or C. It just did not matter. They'd see the letter and disregard everything else. It didn't matter how detailed my feedback was or how much effort I put into explaining their strengths and areas for improvement. The grade was the only thing that stuck. And I see the same thing happen with star ratings. People often fixate on the number and overlook the nuances of the review itself. Not to mention, what do stars even mean? To me, 3 stars would mean it's okay, it's an average book. And that's fine. Not every book has to be groundbreaking or life changing. It can simply be enjoyable for what it is. But I've realized that's not the case for everyone. For some, a 3 star rating feels like a slap in the face. Even 4 stars, which to me signifies this is really good, can upset some authors and readers who feel anything less than a perfect 5 is an insult. And it's not just authors. I've seen viewers gloss over the actual words of a review and zero in on a rating, as if that single number defines the entire experience. And that's a real shame because so much of what makes a book worth reading lies in the nuance: the strengths, the weaknesses, the unique voice of the author, or the moments that can linger in your mind long after you've turned the final page. None of that can be captured by a number. Take a book that's structurally flawed, but has a character that I absolutely adore. How do you rate something like that? If I give it 3 stars, you might think it's average across the board and pass it over. But maybe that one character is so compelling that they're worth the read on their own. Or what about a technically brilliant book that I just didn't resonate with me personally? A 4 star review might make it seem universally appealing when my actual critique might have been more specific. It's a masterpiece, it's just personally not for me. And let's talk about how star ratings influence perception. Have you ever looked at a book with a 3.5-star average on Goodreads and thought, I'll skip it? I know I have. But some of my favorite books of all time, books that changed how I think or sparked something in me, probably fall into that middle range. They're messy, imperfect, or polarizing, but they're also fascinating. A single star rating can't tell you any of that. I'd much rather have someone listen to my full review and walk away understanding what I thought was great, what didn't work for me, and most importantly, whether or not they may like it. Books aren't about fitting into a rigid hierarchy of best to worst, they're about the experience, and that's what I want my reviews to reflect. And finally, there's the issue of respect for the craft, for the effort, and for the humanity behind every book. Writing is hard. It's not just about stringing words together, it's about creating worlds and building characters and telling stories that resonate. Even the simplest books, the ones that seem effortless to read, represent months, if not years, of labor, revision, and sometimes self doubt. When I review, I want to honor the blood, sweat, and tears that go into it. That doesn't mean I won't critique a book's flaws or talk about what didn't work for me. I absolutely will. But I try to do it in a way that's thoughtful and constructive and not dismissive. And that's the problem with star ratings. They often feel like a blunt instrument. Giving a book 2 stars might convey that I didn't enjoy it, but it doesn't say why. It doesn't explain whether it was the pacing, the characterization, or maybe just a mismatch between the book's tone and my mood at the time. A low star rating might discourage someone from reading a book that they would have otherwise actually loved. And for that author, it might feel like all of their hard work has been reduced to a single arbitrary judgment. And that's not the kind of reviewer I want to be. This respect goes beyond the authors, too. I think about the editors, the cover designers, the marketing teams, and everyone else involved in bringing a book to life. A review that digs into the book's merits and challenges and encourages a more meaningful conversation, not just with other readers, but with the creators as well. It's a way of engaging with the art on a deeper level rather than just labeling it good or bad. A negative review doesn't have to tear a book down, it can point out areas where it didn't connect with me while still respecting the effort that went into its creation. That's why I focus on the nuances of storytelling, character, pacing, and themes instead of simply slapping on a number. I get it. Star ratings are quick and easy, but books aren't quick and easy. They're deeply personal. What I love, you might hate, and vice versa. My goal is to give you the tools to decide for yourself, not to make the decision for you. And that's the key takeaway. My reviews are about starting a conversation, not ending it with a number. So, what do you think? Do you prefer reviews without star ratings or do you miss them? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And as always, happy reading.